Hi, I'm Tash and I'm going to show you how to make this crochet moss stitch stash buster blanket. So first up, we are going to take our leftover stash and we are going to sort it into bright and vibrant and then soft muted pastel tones. So there's just so many colour combinations. If your stash is a bit of you, your blanket is going to come out exactly the same. So if your stash is full of lots of lovely soft, dusky, autumnal colours, that's how your blanket is going to come out. But the great thing about this one is that it is perfect for using up your leftover yarn, even down to the tiniest of pieces like this. So you don't even have to throw these away anymore. You can just pop them into your stash bucket, and then whenever you're ready to go, you can make a start on one of these and you can get even these tiniest little bits used up. Next up, we are going to choose one colour from each pile to start with. I'm going to go with this neon pink and white. So I'm going to move the others out of the way for now, and then I'm going to take an 8mm crochet hook. So I'm working with my DK stash, and normally with a DK weight we would work with a 4mm hook. So because we are going to work with them both together, we're going to go up to an 8. So to start off with, you are going to take your light coloured length and your bright coloured length. Pop a slip knot on your hook, like so. And then you're going to chain for as wide as you would like your blanket to be. So the length of your chain just needs to be the width of what you want your blanket to be, and it needs to be an even number. I've just crocheted a chain of 20 just for demo purposes, but once you've created your foundation chain, which is as wide as you'd like your blanket to be and has an even number of chains, you're ready for row 1. So for row 1, we are going to do a double crochet in the second chain from hook, which is this one here. So this is the first chain on after my hook. This is my second chain from hook, and I'm going to do a double crochet into there. So I've got 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through. Then I'm going to do a chain of 1, and then I'm going to miss 1 chain and go into the next one for another double crochet. So into the chain, hook the yarn through so that you've got 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Then you're going to chain 1 and repeat the same thing again. So miss 1 chain, go into the next one with a double crochet. So pop your hook in, hook the yarn through to the front, pull up 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2. So we are treating these 2 threads of yarn as one. So if we chain 1, and then we're going to miss 1, then we're going to go into this one here. I'm going to pop my hook into the chain, hook the yarn, bring it through, so I've got 2 loops on my hook. Essentially that's 4 loops because we've doubled up our yarn, but that counts as 2 loops on our hook. So 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, that's a double crochet, then we're following it with a chain. So all the way along here, we're going to miss the chain, then we're going to double crochet and do a chain, miss a chain, double crochet and do a chain. So all the way along, we're going to repeat that pattern. When you get to the end of your row, that will bring you to the last chain, and there should be a double crochet in the last chain. Next, we're going to start row 2 with a chain of 1 and turning our work, and then we're going to work back in the other direction, and we're going to do our double crochets in the chain space from the row below. So all the way along here, we've got these spaces which were created by our chain of 1 from the row below, and we're going to do our double crochets in there. So from here, the first chain space from the row below is just here. I'm going to do a double crochet right into the space. So you're not going into the top of the stitch, you're just going into the space. Then a chain of 1. I'm going to miss that double crochet from the row below and go into the space next to it, created by the chain from the row below. So into there, and then a chain of 1. So after every double crochet, you're doing a chain of 1. So it kind of becomes a little kind of joint habit. So we've got our double crochet, chain of one, we're missing the double crochet from the row below, and we're doing a chain of one into the chain one space from the row below. In there, double crochet, chain one, and into that space, double crochet, chain one, then into that space, double crochet, chain one, into that space, double crochet, chain one, so when you get to the end of your row, you are going to do your last double crochet in between the first chain and the first double crochet from the beginning of the last row. So right in here. So each row should always have the same number of double crochets in it. So I started out with a foundation chain of 20. So each of my rows should always have 10 double crochets in each row. If you don't have the same number of double crochets in each row, then you will find your blanket is going to start sort of going misshapen. So it might start to get a bit wider at the top or come in a little bit. So just checking that you've got the right number of double crochets is key, but knowing where to crochet into as well is also key. And then you've got your chain of one again to start the next row, turning your work and then going back in the other direction into all of the chain spaces with a double crochet and a chain in between. So double crochet in there, chain, double crochet in there, chain, and so on and so forth. Next for the fun bit. So whenever you get to a point where you want to change colour or the yarn that you were using runs out, you want to replace it with one from the same pile. If I want to change colour, I'll cut it. If I've run out, I'll just make sure that there's about this much left over. So I'm going to cut it about here. And then you can take that one out of the way. Then you're going to take your new colour and you're going to bring it in and join it with a magic knot. So we are going to tie the new colour around the old colour and the old colour around the new colour, like this. Pull that really tight and then do the same with this one. So like that, and then pull that really tight. Then you're going to pull the long ends so that the two knots butt up close to each other and secure. And then you can take your scissors and trim that nice and short. Then you're going to carry on with the pattern, crocheting as your new colour comes into the mix, like this. So then, when you come to a point where your other colour runs out or you want to change it, you would just do the same again. And you can just do that at random places throughout the blanket. So if you were using up this one, for example, you could just keep on going until it was all gone and then tie in your next colour. Each time one of your colours runs out, you're choosing another colour from the same pile. So if my pink ran out, I would go for a colour from my vibrant pile. And if my white ran out, I would then go for a colour from my muted, lighter colour pile. And then you're just going to keep on going, having fun with colour combinations and growing your blanket to as long as you would like it to be. So its width is set by how many chains you put in your first row, and your height, the height of the blanket or the length of the blanket is set by how many rows you do. And you can just keep on going until it's as big as you want it to be. So once you've got your blanket to as many rows as you'd like it to be, then you can fasten off. And now it's time to add a trim. So like I have on this one, I've just added a white trim, and it's of solid double crochet, and I'm going to show you that now on both ends. So for the trim, I find that using 2 strands of the same colour is the best way to get something to contrast against the chaos of the blanket. Which colour really depends on your blanket and what colours came out of your stash. But some of my favourites would be white, like this one, black, a metallic colour, or like a neon pop. But 2 strands of the same colour this time. So I'm going to use white for this demo, and you're just going to take a slip knot and pop it on your hook. So firstly, starting along the foundation chain, you're going to go into the first one like this, with a slip stitch and a chain of 1, and then into that same chain we are going to do a double crochet, and then a double crochet into the next one, and a double crochet into the next one, and a double crochet into the next one. So we've obviously crocheted into one and missed one along the first row that we did. So some will just have this 1 strand that you can go under, and then some will be the whole chain because we didn't do anything in there, but you're still going to just go into the 1 strand like this with a double crochet. Now I haven't written this into the pattern, but when you are doing the edging rows, if you get halfway through and you notice that your blanket is curling up like this, or you notice that your blanket is going wiggly like this, you may need to adjust your hook size. So it may be that your tension when you're doing a double crochet and a chain and a double crochet and a chain is different to when you're just doing double crochets, just a solid row of double crochets. So for me, when I was doing this one, I found that as I was adding my edging, it was going a little bit wiggly, which told me that I needed to go down a hook size. So I switched. Instead of using my 8mm hook, I switched to my 7. I haven't written this into the pattern because it may not be the same for everybody, but generally speaking, at any crochet, if you're adding an edging row and you're finding your work is going wiggly, wavy, that means you need to come down a hook size or put less stitches in. And if you, just depending on the pattern, and if you find that your work is curling over like this, it needs more. So you might want to add extra stitches, or in this case with this particular pattern, it will help to just go up a hook size. So in my case, I switched to I'm just switching halfway through now, but I switched to the 7 for this blanket because of the reasons that I've just described. So you might just want to keep that in mind. Not everybody will have that same issue. And you're just going to work your way along, all the way along the bottom, and when you get to the end, place your last stitch in the last chain that you've got there, and then you can just fasten off. Next, when you are adding your edging row to the last row of your blanket, instead of going into chains like we did when we were working along the foundation row, we are going to just be going into the tops of stitches. So as you can see here, along our last row of crochet, we have double crochets, chain, double crochet, chain, and we're going to work our way along, going into the top of the double crochet and into the top of the chain like that. So not going into the space, going into the top of the chain. So 2 strands of the top of the chain, leaving 1 strand behind. And that will just give you a slightly neater edge than if you were to go into the space. So you'd be starting right at the end here in the very first chain, and you'd be working your way along, going underneath each of the stitches all the way along to the end, and then fasten off. Next we come on to the tassels. and I like to make them in the same colour as I've done my edging. So you are going to take the same colour as your edging, and you want anything this size really. So I've just got post-it notes. You could take a cardboard template, the long edge of your mobile phone, and you're going to do 20 wraps. I have got this doubled still, so that means I only need to do 10 wraps. And if this is the end of the yarn started, I'm also going to cut it down this end as well. So you've got both ends down this end. If you wanted your tassel to be fuller, you could add more wraps. If you want it to be thinner, you can add less wraps. So next you are going to take a length of yarn about this long, and you are going to tuck it underneath all the strands of your wraps, and you're going to bring it right up to the top, so the opposite end up here, so opposite end to your tail ends. So if your tail ends are down here, your knot needs to be up here. You're going to do a really nice tight knot and double it. So double knot, then you can take this off the card like this. Then you're going to take another length of yarn about the same length as the last one, and for this one we are going to lay it down on the surface. You are going to pop your tassel on top of it, and you want this length of yarn to be a couple of centimeters from the top knot, and you can adjust where you put this and see how it comes out. But the closer to the top, the smaller the bobble on the tassel, and the further down, the bigger it will be. So I'm going to pop it about here. So you're going to tie that really nice and tight, and then again you want a double knot, pull that really tight, and then we have this. Now I'm going to trim this up at the end once I've attached it to the blanket, just because then you can do all your trimming in one go. Once you've made 4 of these, you're going to attach them to each of the 4 corners of your blanket. You're going to pop the end onto a darning needle of one of these 2 ends, and you're just going to go through the corner of your trim, your edging that you've done, and you're going to tie that in a nice tight double knot. Then you're going to take these ends, thread them onto a darning needle, and take them back down through the middle of the tassel, making sure they get through this middle loop bit here. Bring that through and do the same with both of them, and that will be, both strands of the tassel will be lost down inside of the tassel. You can also do the same with the ends of your edging. So I'm going to do the same with that one, and then the same with that one. You can lose that down inside of your tassel. Then it's time to trim your tassel. So you can release the loops and then just trim them all to one length, or just trim them all to one length like this. Quite fun. It's like you're giving it a little haircut, and you can repeat the same process with all 4 tassels of the edge of your blanket. And then all that's left to do is to sew in the ends from the beginning of your blanket and the end of your blanket, and you can do that quite neatly by sewing it inside of your edging. So just hide it down inside of the edging, go back and forth a couple of times to make it nice and secure. So that will be your blanket complete, and then you'll have something wonderful like this. And you'll have all these lovely stripes of colour, all different pops of colour and tassels to finish it off beautifully. So have a go, play around with colour, use up your stash, add some more colours into it if you want to, go for themes. You could go for one all made out of Christmassy colours. You could pick all your favourite colours that remind you of Christmas. You could have the purple Quality Street colour purple in there. You could have your reds and greens, midnight blues, and then your light coloured pile. You could have icy blues and silvers and white for snow, of course, and then that will make up a beautifully festive blanket for you. There are so many different ways that you could play with colour on this. Another way that I quite like to have fun with colour on this one would be to use it kind of like a mood blanket. So each time you go to choose a colour, pick one that represents your mood that day. Another idea with these is to simply use up as you've got some left over. So if you do a project and you've got some yarn left over, work it into one of these and just keep this one going. You could keep it going over the span of years. You know, you finish a project, you've got yarn left over, you start one of these, and then the next time you do another project and you've got some yarn left over, you work it into this, and then you keep going until eventually this one is a whole blanket that also tells a story of all the projects that you've worked on. And there we have it. The Moss Stitch Stash Buster, courtesy of my overflowing DK stash box. If you prefer a written or diagram pattern, you'll find that in the Raise Room shop. And if you do decide to give it a go, make sure that you tag at Raise Room UK in any social media posts so that we can see it. Join the Raise Room Crafters Facebook group for more support with the pattern, and I can't wait to see you there.